Alrighty, everybody. What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to another live. We are doing another update here for y'all on the severe weather risk that we got for Thursday. But we're going to take a second to wait for everybody to join here. But I hope everyone is having a beautiful day or had a great day today. We are streaming a little bit late tonight, so I apologize for that. But we are here to give you guys an update on everything here. Anyways, so for today we have Roby. What's up, Roby? Good to see you. What's up, Boomers? What's up, Tyson? What's up, Misty? As well as Stormy Weather. Good to see you guys. I hope everyone is, like I said, doing well. Let's see here. What's up, Ponderosa? Welcome, welcome. What's up, Isaac? Hope you guys are having a beautiful, beautiful evening. What's up, Redbird? Hope you're doing well. But anyway, so like I said, Thursday we got a severe weather risk we need to look out for. They did, what I mean by they is the Storm Prediction Center did issue a level 2 slight risk here as of right now, which does include portions of northern Kentucky. As you can kind of see here in the yellow, this is the greatest risk for Thursday. So northern Kentucky, bits and pieces of central and southern Illinois, central southern Indiana, and southwest Ohio. So some major cities include like Cincinnati, Indianapolis, Louisville, Springfield, Illinois. You know, those areas are under the level 2 threat here, which is the greatest concern here for severe weather, which is the biggest threat that we do have here for Thursday. Now, we do have the level 1 threat still in the dark green area here, which also includes like St. Louis, Missouri, Bloomington, Illinois, Dayton, Ohio, Bowling Green, Kentucky, as well as just shy of Nashville, Tennessee here, which, you know, it could easily be pushed into the level 1 threat here by the time we do get to Thursday. But we do have these areas here between the yellow and the green in the risk for severe weather. Once again, with the greatest concern being right here, the level 2 threat under the yellow areas and the level 1 threat across the dark green. Now, you might be wondering, well, what does this light green mean? This is just our general thunderstorm risk here, where we could see a couple of storms pop off, nothing severe. But there is going to be potential for maybe a couple storms as high up north as Wisconsin here. It will be possible, but they're not supposed to be severe at the time, you know, over in these regions here. So once again, the main severe threat is mostly going to be here for the yellow and the green areas here overall. What's up, Kimmel? Good to see ya. I'm seeing. Hello, Andrew. How's my night going? It's going good. It's going good. Hopefully yours is going well as well. Let's see here. Anyways. Rochi says, hello, Andrew. Not a tornado related question, but weather related question. You get through tornado update. Huh? Do what, Rochi? I honestly have no idea what you mean by that, man. What's up, Squashy? Good to see ya. What's up, Scott? Hope you're doing well. Will I also be able to talk about the Midwest snow system that's supposed to happen on the same day? Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about basically everything that's going to be going on here. So, anyway, so this is basically what we're going to look at. So we're looking at the models now. This is the RRFS model. So the main threat, like we mentioned here, is on Thursday. We actually do have ourselves a bit of a system that's going to be working its way throughout pretty much Tuesday going into Wednesday here, as you can kind of see, which, you know, obviously today's Tuesday, but, you know, going through into Wednesday here, up across the Great Lakes, you know, this week actually driving some precipitation, in which we'll actually be seeing some snow if I actually bring up my, if we'll actually bring up the precipitation type here for a moment. That way we can actually kind of see that. But yeah, I mean, we're going to actually be seeing some snow here for Wednesday, up across portions of the upper Great Lakes here for one, as well as bits of the northern plains. We're actually going to be seeing a little bit of snowfall here for tomorrow. Then, of course, as we work our way down into Thursday, that's where that system kind of starts to break up. You know, still some snow showers possibly rolling through, but nothing really crazy, you know, in terms of heavy snow like we were seeing previously, you know, a couple hours back. It will light up a little bit. But then we roll into Thursday, and that's where things start to get a little bit interesting here. So if I go ahead and turn off the precipitation type for a moment. So as we approach our way into Thursday, this is where we have yet again another system that develops here. And it seems like sometime in the afternoon, the early afternoon, is when we could start to see maybe some storms starting to fire off here across portions, of Missouri, across portions of Illinois. It's going to start from the western side of the risk area and work its way to the east. So this will be going on throughout the afternoon into the evening hours here, in which, we're going to be having likely a bunch of scattered severe thunderstorms here, in which, once again, tornadoes, large hail is going to be a big concern for this risk here. Definitely need to look out for that. Also, hail could be a bit of a problem as well, which we'll get into that here more in a minute when we go into soundings and stuff. Anyways, let's see here. Green says, will Paducah, Kentucky have a big chance for tornadoes? So out there in Paducah, isn't Paducah out west, if I'm not mistaken? Let's actually figure out where Paducah's at. I always see Paducah. Let's see here. Paducah, Kentucky. Here we go. We'll go pull this up so I can kind of see where you're at. Oh, yeah, that's right. You are in western. For some reason, there it is. Okay. This program's a little hard to see where some of these cities are. But yeah, you're in the level 1 threat here overall. Now, in terms of a big chance for tornadoes, you're in, I believe, they don't have the exact probability breakdown right now, but I do believe that you're going to be in that tornado threat in general, in which we'll have to look out for it. For you, given that you're in the level 1 threat, it's a pretty low threat as of right now for tornadoes, but you still need to keep an eye out there for it. I think damaging winds is going to probably be the main concern here. Following that, we'll possibly see maybe an isolated tornado or two within the region, and maybe even some hail as well. So I think that's going to be kind of the main thing here overall. Anyways, what's up? Just good to see ya. Let's see. What's up, Scott? Hope you're doing well. What's up, Cole? Good to see ya. Isaac says, hey, Andrew, do I think there'll be an upgraded risk where I'm in? I'm in... See Illinois and the marginal risk here. Let me pull up your. I have no idea how to say your town name, dude. I genuinely don't know how to pronounce that. Okay, is it Kankakee? Oh god, that's terrible. South of Chicago. Yeah, where you're at actually. Honestly, I think you're barely even in the level 1 threat here. See, Bloomington. Yeah, you're northeast of Bloomington, so you're over here somewhere. Oh, there you are. Yeah, you're barely in the level 1 threat. It's hard to say. Honestly, there's not going to be as good of conditions available, like wind shear and instability mostly, that farther up north, in which, the conditions are going to be a little bit more harder, or not as severe, basically, up that far to the north. Now, I don't think as of right now you're going to be getting that, because you're pretty high up in the marginal risk as it is. It would have to be a significant change in the models for you to be bumped up in that threat. I really don't think so, at least as of what I have now, currently at the data we have available. Let's see here. Green says, thank you, Andrew. No problem at all. Let's see here. How do I feel about Bowling Green on Thursday? Bowling Green's actually in the marginal here for Thursday. Definitely need to keep an eye out for it. There could be a couple of, scattered strong to severe thunderstorms, in which, the main concern once again is going to be damaging winds. And like I said, we can't rule out potential tornadic activity here. Just given these models. I'm actually going to grab a bit of a sounding here. Let's just grab one across southern Indiana. This is for 8 p.m. on Thursday, from the RRFS model. Now, looking over here, our wind shear is pretty good. So the winds throughout the atmosphere are pretty darn strong. If you look at the hodograph, we do have a bit of an arch here telling us that the winds are aggressively changing direction and increasing in wind speed with altitude, especially in our lower levels there, you can kind of see. So that's really telling me that, there could be some twist, there could be some spin in the atmosphere. Now, in terms of moisture content, we have upper 50 dew points, which is enough moisture for these storms. Typically you really want those in the 60s or greater, but 58, it'll work. It'll do, no pun intended. Anyways, but we do have a little bit of instability here and a bit of dry air in our mid-atmosphere, which, perhaps, I think there possibly could be maybe a little bit of hail, possibly mixing in with some of that. We'll have to see what happens. But yeah, I think damaging winds on a sounding like this, and pretty much a triple threat, I think, could be a concern for these areas here. Now, like I mentioned, the instability for this particular sounding isn't really anything super crazy, but like I said, it's really enough to it's enough to get storms going, and because of that twist we were talking about, because of that strong wind shear and how it changes directions aggressively, and wind speed increases with altitude, allows it to potentially pop off and cause some rotating storms here. What's up, Noah? Good to see ya. Misty wants to look at this area for Thursday. Let me pull it up for you. So you're up in Missouri. Okay, you're up by Bowling Green, Missouri. Gotcha. This area is not in the risk here for Thursday. Roby says, "Stay safe, everyone. Hope we'll get some strong. Hopefully all we get is strong winds. We could use rain. Gotcha. Yeah, absolutely. I know a lot of places need rain here, so I get it. Just minus the severe stuff would be nice, Absolutely. What's up, Max? Good to see you. Noah says, "What is the greatest threat for Indianapolis?" Indianapolis, obviously, first of all, is in the level 2 slight risk here for Thursday. Once again, out of this event, I do believe that the main leading concern is going to be damaging wind gusts, in which we could see potential wind gusts upwards of 60 miles an hour. So within the storm, there could be a couple of wind gusts that pushes up to 60 miles an hour. Doesn't mean it's going to be sustained at 60, sustained meaning like constantly blowing at 60. No, it's going to be gusts up to 60, in which that will be a possibility. Now, between that, now obviously we will likely have a bit of a tornado concern as we looked in some of the soundings here. It does appear that there will possibly be a bit of a tornado concern given our veering winds in the lower atmosphere and stuff like that could lead to that tornado concern. That's going to be probably more of the second concern. And of course, maybe some hail as well. We're going to have to look more into that. But damaging winds, tornadoes definitely seem to be kind of the main concern here overall. Let's see here. What's up, Mesomat? Saying, let's see, West Kentucky thoughts. I'm stumped. Well, it depends on how far west you are. I mean, if you're far southwest, then, yeah, obviously you're in the marginal here from the SPC. Now, given the RRFS model, obviously we do have a couple of scattered storms, but you can actually kind of see here a couple of supercells potentially popping off. These look to be pretty semi-discrete, too. It depends. Obviously, models, they're not perfect, as you probably know, in which, when it comes to it, we're just going to have to kind of wait a little bit longer to see how these models do react. But I'm going to grab a sounding anyways from this model just to kind of see what kind of environment we're going to be in. And one thing I do notice immediately is that veering winds, like we were talking about here in the lower atmosphere where my cursor's at. Here at the surface, if I was to draw here, actually I don't think I can. Here, let me bring up my pen so I can actually draw on the screen over the soundings and stuff. Here we go. Anyway, so yeah, on the lower atmosphere, right towards the surface, the winds are kind of moving north, slightly northeast, and then once again, as you go up in altitude, the wind direction changes quite a bit. Further to the northeast, in which we are seeing a bit of veering winds. As we can confirm with our photograph here, once again, showing that, that arcing or that little arch there. Once again, telling us that the winds are flowing to the north at the beginning, to the northeast, and they're increasing in wind speed as we go up in altitude. And once we reach a certain level in the lower atmosphere, we start to change wind directions. They start to change further to the east here. So, yeah, that is going to create a potential rotating environment here for potential storms. Now, like we mentioned again, dew points here in the lower 60s, that's perfect. That will supply a pretty good amount of moisture here for these storms. A pretty dry mid-level, though, too. These could really enhance some of these storms here, which is definitely going to be pretty good. Now, the only thing that really limits here, in my opinion, is the instability. It doesn't look like there's a whole lot of fuel available here, or a lot of instability, I should say. Obviously, everything else is in place. Great moisture content, good wind shear, decent dryness in our mid levels, which could definitely support some pretty strong storms. But honestly, like I mentioned, the instability is kind of the limiting factor here. But we'll see. We'll have to see. When it comes to it, I do think that, all hazards will be a bit of a concern here. Once again, tornadoes, large hail, damaging winds. We're going to have to definitely keep an eye out there for it. Also, Mesomat, thanks for the $2, man. I appreciate it. Greatly appreciate it. That's really, really nice to meet you, my friend. You did not have to do that, but I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Let's see here. What's the greatest threat for Indianapolis? I think we already went over that one, right? Yeah, so like I said, damaging winds, potential for a couple of tornadoes could be possible out there. Absolutely. let's see. The longest I was without power was 15 hours and 30 minutes, like 2 years ago from the high winds. Wow, that's quite a bit, but honestly, kind of rookie numbers compared to me with the with Milton that we had. I had it out for 5 days. It was terrible. It sucked. It sucked. Trust me, especially being out in the humidity and everything, or the heat. It was yeah, it sucked. Anyways, let's see. Gold says, "See, I'm gonna have a lot to do with sunshine coming through Thursday morning. My increased storms. Yeah, I'm definitely having an open atmosphere with little cloud cover before an event happens is very important. In terms of getting the surface heated up, that diurnal heating is very important for pre systems or basically systems before they really pop off. There, yeah, it's very important. We'll have to see. Absolutely. Max, I do not. But anyways, yeah, so like I said, we're going to have to definitely keep an eye on it. I do want to overlay the lower level winds here actually with you guys. So we're going to pull up our lower winds in the atmosphere. This is about 850 millibars, or this is 850 millibars, which is about 4,000 feet up or so. So we're going to go ahead and load this up here so we can kind of pull up our lower level winds. Now, at the point of when the storms fire off here, I'm actually going to put the radar over top of it. You can actually see here, I mean, this is for the evening of Thursday. We do have some pretty strong lower level flow here. Once again, about 4,000 feet aloft. I mean, we're talking 40, 50 knots or so, which is a pretty strong lower level jet. It's definitely pretty good. And like I said, definitely not lacking the kinematics for this system. We are definitely seeing some really, really strong wind shear for this system. Now, these winds are moving northeast, as you can kind of tell, in our lower atmosphere. Once again, 4,000 feet aloft, about 40, 50-ish knots or so by 8 p.m. on Thursday. So, I mean, this is a decent lower level jet, right? So here's what we're also going to do. We're going to overlay the mid-level winds. So this is about 20,000 feet up. This is our 500 millibar wind speed. And we're going to overlay these wind barbs here. And you can obviously see that they're a bit perpendicular to one another, in which essentially we are seeing these winds flowing more easterly. So that's telling us, once again, that the wind direction is changing as we go up in altitude, as well as, for these wind speeds, I mean, we're talking a good 70, maybe 75, 80 knots or so. I mean, that's really strong mid-level flow, in which will really carry these storms here. And it'll really give a good separation between your storm's intake, the updraft, and the storm's downdraft, the outtake. So basically, this is really going to be kind of possibly allowing for these storms to be quite long-lived because of how strong these how strong the wind shear values are here. Now, so like I said, the change in the wind direction there, the increase in wind speed with altitude, I mean, this is really showing us a pretty decent potential tornadic environment here. Obviously we have the moisture here. Those dew points are in the 60s. I'm actually going to overlay that here real quickly right now. So let's go ahead and get rid of all this stuff for now. But yeah, let's go ahead and overlay our dew points at this exact hour so we can kind of see what we're talking about. In which, yeah, I mean, our dew points here you can see on that lower value on that little chart there. It shows a lot of these areas here in, the lower 60s, maybe the upper 50s, which, like we mentioned, is obviously going to be enough here, to support these storms. I do actually have my custom table here. This is actually from COD Meteorology, and this is, the custom table I created on this program. But yeah, I mean, you can see, I mean, we're going to have a pretty decent amount of moisture supply. Our dew points, once again, are in the lower 60s, which is in the Goldilocks zone. This is where you want them to be, for severe weather to kick off. What's up, Frankie? Good to see you. Hope you're doing good, my friend. Let's see here. Let's see, one of those events, what the main issue is something that'll only be truly resolved around day one. Yeah, especially, with this system, of course, like you said. Yeah, we're going to have to really wait and see, how this storm progresses over the next few days. Now, obviously, I'm going to be giving you guys updates on this. And right now, SPC does not have the exact breakdown between the tornado threat probability, the damaging wind threat, and the hail threat probability. Those are not available yet, but we will have those tomorrow, in which I will be obviously going live again for you guys tomorrow night, too, to give you guys a bit of an update here on this system. So, I mean, bottom line here, this is kind of a little bit of a recap from what we talked about so far. So, the system has great amounts of moisture. There's enough moisture to supply for these storms here. So, check that off. That's one of the main things for severe weather is moisture content. Another thing is wind shear. We have really good wind shear. Once again, that veering winds in the lower atmosphere could contribute to a rotating atmosphere, which we could have a couple of tornadoes. And of course, that is pretty decent. We have some pretty strong veering motion. The winds are, changing direction pretty aggressively, going up in altitude, as well as they're increasing in wind speed with altitude as well. So definitely is a pretty decent environment with that alone. So great moisture, great moisture, great wind shear. Now instability, that's really the main limiting factor with this system here. I mean, we're going to have some pretty good lift, I believe. Given this front, you can see we have a really dry and cooler air mass pushing against it on the backside. There's going to be a pretty good amount of lift on this front. Typical fronts do produce a pretty good amount of lift here. So that's probably not going to be much of a concern either. But in terms of really the instability, that's where the main limiting factor is. So let's actually go ahead and overlay that. Actually, I'm actually going to go ahead and get rid of the rest of this stuff here. So let's just actually clear out this whole panel here. Now I do want to look at the instability now. So we're going to actually start off here. We'll do mix. Oh, that's mixed layer convective inhibition. Whoops, did not want to look at that. That's that's more looking for warm layers and for potential storm problem or problems in which storms could form, essentially. Showing there that there is positive buoyancy there. Anyways, so let's pull up the, here we go, the mixed layer CAPE. So this is our convective available potential energy. So this is potential energy in the atmosphere, which, I mean, as we approach our way through Thursday, I mean, you could see that there's enough instability. I mean, now we're not talking absurd amounts of instability here, but there's enough to get the job done. According to the RRFS model, I mean, we could have some pockets of upwards of 1,000 joules per kilogram, which is enough. It's definitely enough, especially for this time of the year, especially up this high latitude. Yeah, I mean, this is pretty. This is pretty decent overall. So you can see here for like portions of Kentucky, I mean, the values are not as high, at least for this hour here in the afternoon. Once again, of course, some pockets with higher instability could enhance localized storms overall. So, between that, that's definitely something we need to look out for. So, once again, locally, there could be some higher amounts of instability, which could help, get these storms going a little bit more. Obviously, we know that the kinematics, the wind shear throughout the atmosphere is pretty good. Good amounts of lower and mid-level flow, and that veering that's there as well is definitely going to be helping support these systems here in general, which is definitely definitely good. But yeah, so between the veering winds and the increase in wind speeds, that is going to allow for that potential rotating atmosphere that we have. But once again, locally, higher amounts of instability, good amounts of fuel in some spots there, of course, and good amounts of moisture here as well. And it's definitely seemed like a pretty good little environment here for severe weather. Absolutely. What's up, Julie? Good to see you. Saying hello. Or sorry, here we go again. Thank you so much. No problem. You're very welcome. What's up, Nate? Good to see you, my friend. Hopefully you're doing well. But anyways, let's actually do a little bit of a comparison. I think the HRRR should be starting to come out now. Possibly, if we, let's see. Let's go over here to HRRR. We'll go back to our 0 UTC run. We should have the end of the, yeah, so there you go. So here's the HRRR model. I keep drawing on the screen here. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and overlay the future radar with the HRRR so we can kind of see key comparison between the RRFS model and the HRRR here. So here's what we're going to do. First of all, I'm actually going to have two panels. We're going to have the HRRR model on the left, and we're going to have the RRFS model here on the right. So let's go ahead and do that real quickly. We're going to overlay a model. We'll do let's see, precipitation. We'll do composite reflectivity here. Okay, so then we're going to overlay the RRFS here. That way we have, good comparison between these models. Here we go. All right, so once again, HRRR on the left, the RRFS on the right here. So just a good comparison between two different models. So we work our way into Thursday here. Now, as you can see, I mean, they seem to be pretty decently spot on here. There's a bit of a mass up here by East, did I really call that Massachusetts? Eastern Illinois here, Western Indiana. We do have ourselves a bit of heavy storm activity possibly popping off around this time. This is for 3 p.m. according to these models here, in which you can see both models are on point. Now, there is a little bit of a difference in the timing aspect. You can see that the RRFS model on the right shows that mass more over central Illinois, while the HRRR has it on eastern Illinois and western and central Indiana. That's obviously why we can't really trust the timing aspect of the storms quite yet, because it still is a couple of days out, of course. in which models are going to have a little bit of a fight for a little bit until we get up towards the event here. Then we'll learn a lot more about it. But anyways, so then we work our way further down in time, and this is actually as far as the HRRR goes, which is 7 p.m. on Thursday. And you can see, I mean, they're not too far off from one another. I mean, obviously the RRFS model shows maybe a few more storms in southern Illinois at this time, while the HRRR doesn't. It does show a little bit of a line, while the RRFS does not. It seems like the RRFS shows maybe a little bit more semi-discrete, relatively isolated supercells here, which if we can get these individual cells like this forming, that could be a bit of an issue. That could be definitely a bit of an issue. And that's where you could have, the big tornado concerns and stuff like that. Let's see here. Kaysen says, what do I think about the zip code? I know I'm not in the risk, but could it shift south to me? Let me pull up and see just how far you are south of it. So you're up in Tennessee. Gotcha. Okay, so honestly, I don't think you're too far away from that risk here. I mean, given what models suggest here, I mean, first of all, looking at the models here, I mean, it obviously shows a little bit of shower and maybe some storm activity rolling through. Here, let me grab a little bit more of a. Let me just grab a sounding here. This is from the HRRR for 5 p.m. I mean, we have a little bit lower wind shear here. I mean, we still do have some decent wind shear. Don't get me wrong. So there's some decent winds throughout the atmosphere. We have a little bit of that veering pattern we were talking about here. Still dew points in the upper 50s, lower 60s. I mean, it doesn't look too bad. It looks like you're in an environment where storms could happen for sure. However, the instability values are very, very low, very low. And that's going to be really your main limiting factor here, is the fact that we have not a whole lot of instability. From this system. It seems like, from what the models were kind of suggesting, and I'm actually going to confirm this here. I'm going to confirm this here too. Let me pull up the instability here. We're going to pull up mixed layer. Yeah, and so this is exactly what I was thinking, is that the instability is a lot further north, believe it or not, as you can kind of see here. Areas like Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, Illinois. I mean, you can see that, you're in an area where the instability is very patchy. There's not enough fuel for these storms to really, really get going, as there is, a little bit further up north here. And it kind of remains like that here for the most part. I mean, we'll have to see how this goes. We'll have to see how the models handle this, and obviously, if there is a push to the south, then we'll obviously talk about it. But from what right now the models suggest here, it seems like a lot of the instability, or the fuel, or really just the instability for these storms, is going to be further north of you. Anyways, hopefully that helped out. How is northern Indiana looking? You think slight is possible for South Bend? How is the tornado risk looking up towards? Okay, we'll start off with the first question. So, how is northern Indiana looking? You guys are not in the risk, I don't believe. Here, let's actually overlay that risk here again. We'll go ahead and put up our day 3 outlook. Yeah, so northern Indiana is not in the risk. We do actually have a general thunderstorm threat, which says, hey, couple booms of thunder possible, nothing severe. We do not have any severe weather risk as of right now for you. Simply because, kind of similar to what we were just looking at in Tennessee, there's not going to be enough instability up there. And also, I believe that the moisture content up here as well is going to be a lot lower. I think our dew points are going to be much lower. Yeah, I mean, dew points are in the upper 40s, which not really is good for severe weather or anything like that. So, also a bit of a capping inversion I saw there at the last second, looking at that sounding. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like your environment's going to be super convective. It doesn't really seem like you're going to have much of a concern for severe weather, which it makes a lot of sense why the Storm Prediction Center has that risk actually just south of you rather than on you, because, yeah, it seems like there's a lot more limiting factors out there. So, and because of that lower factor, obviously tornado threat would be a lot lower too. I'll grab another sounding here. This is for 7 p.m. on Thursday from the HRRR model. Now, there is some veering winds, but, once again, there's a lot of problems here in our SKU-T chart. First of all, like I said, not looking so good with those dew points here. There's really not much instability at all either. That's really the main things here. So, doesn't really look like a super crazy environment out there. Anyways, let's see here. Oh, that's crazy, Carrot. Wow. Let's see. Gold says, Andrew, it's definitely odd to have severe weather threats like this that far north in the middle of February. It does remind me of 2 years ago in Wisconsin. There, first February tornadoes. Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's not super common that we do see something like you said this far up north. Now, for the south, for the Gulf Coast, it's a little bit more common because obviously you have the Gulf that's supplying a lot of moisture and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, a little bit higher up north, it's definitely not as common. And the reason that it's actually happening is because of how strong of a low we're going to have with the system. If I actually bring up the mean sea level pressure here, we're actually having a pretty strong low, which is being strong enough to pull up that warm air and that moisture a lot further north than it typically would, because of the strength of this low. It's pulling, it's tugging on that air to the south a lot harder, pushing it further up to the north, which is allowing us to have that. And obviously over here up north is also where we're right next to that low where the wind shear is the strongest, obviously being near that central low pressure, that is where, the wind shear is going to be the strongest and stuff like that. So this is really just where everything mixes together perfectly, where you have, a lot of instability, a lot of wind shear, and decent amounts of moisture here. A little bit of instability, enough instability, I should say, a decent amount of moisture, and really, really strong wind shear. So, yeah, because of how strong that low is, that's how we're getting such strong wind shear, through the atmosphere. But, yeah, it seems like a pretty decent little low, actually. I mean, it's pretty darn strong. I mean, the pressure is going to be getting down into the lower 990 millibar range here, maybe even lower than that. So, yeah, I mean, it's really not a bad little system. Absolutely. Bluegrass says, hi, Andrew, or hey, Andrew. Chat, hope everyone's doing well. I'm in Louisville, Kentucky, and scared of Thursday's severe weather threat. Don't be scared. We'll get through it. It'll be all right. So, like we mentioned before, I think the main concern, for Louisville, actually I have family out in Louisville, and I used to live near there. So from the way it looks here, I mean, obviously the models are a little bit iffy on it. It seems like we could see a bunch of scattered storms here. A bunch of scattered potential severe thunderstorms. I think the main concern, though, like we mentioned, is going to be damaging winds first, following potential tornadic activity, then maybe some hail included too. Now, the odds of you specifically getting a tornado bluegrass is very low. So I wouldn't stress yourself over it, because, I mean, the odds of that is very low. But just know that the environment is possible of producing them, and if it does, then take action. But, realistically speaking, the probability of you specifically being in a tornado is pretty darn low, even though the risk is there. But, once again, I'm not telling you to ignore it, but I'm just saying it'll be all right. We'll get through it. Like I said, I'll do coverage here on Thursday for you guys. We'll be sure to help you guys out, and be sure to work y'all through this system. Anyways, let's see here. How about Chicago area? It's looking a little worse. See more at night than it does during the morning. What time do I think? So like I mentioned a minute ago, timing's a bit iffy. There's a lot of model disagreement here, as we just looked at. Not too long ago. Actually, let's go ahead and remove some of this stuff here. So I can kind of show you all the differences and everything. So, like we mentioned here, this is the HRRR model on the left panel, and we have the RRFS model on the right panel here overall. Okay, so here's the problem: is I mean, I can see that there's a little bit of a timing difference here with these systems. We're just going to close that little box there. So, meanwhile, the RRFS here for 4 p.m. on Thursday shows a lot of storms over central Illinois. Look at what the HRRR says. It says that all that storm activity is going to be in Indiana. So there's that right there just tells you that there's a huge difference in the timing of the system, showing that the HRRR is more advanced further into the system rather than the HRRR showing it HRRR is more advanced into the system while the RRFS is lagging behind a bit. So I can't really tell you much about timing without it being inaccurate. So that's just something we're going to have to kind of weigh out and just see how things pop off, and how the models eventually handle this as we get closer to the event. Now, in terms of Chicago area, as you mentioned, up here I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of anything nasty. We might get a couple pop-off showers, or maybe a couple rumbles of thunder, whatever. It's possible, but like I mentioned, there's really not a lot of instability up here. There's not a lot of fuel for storms or anything like that. Most of our fuel is going to be to the south. Our moisture contents are going to be low. Our instability is going to be very low. It doesn't really seem like that area is going to be in too much of a concern here with this system overall. Anyways, let's see here. Garrett says my family's also near Louisville. The threats should be more conditional. Just keep it out there for a few forecasts or for new forecasts and warnings. Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, we'll keep you guys updated throughout this event here. I'll be sure to track it with you guys, and I'll be here just to let you all know what's going to happen with this system. But once again, it seems like most of the instability, as you can kind of tell, is going to be mostly over like southern Indiana, central Kentucky. Portions like southwestern Ohio. It does even show a little bit of instability in southeast Missouri and northeast Arkansas. But here's the problem, is that storms aren't really firing off in this environment, likely due to a capping inversion. I bet you there's a temperature inversion here. There it is, right there. You see that little bulge there? So that's your temperature inversion, and that's what's stopping thunderstorm formation. So basically, you have a bunch of warm air that tries to start rising, and then it reaches an environment which is actually warmer than the rising air, and it just stops rising. It reaches an equilibrium early. Now, realistically, if you wanted storms, you would want the temperatures to drop off like this and have an open environment for the storm to continue rising, or for that parcel to continue rising. So that's the main reason why these areas are probably not included in the risk here, is because of the capping inversion. While there is instability in the air, there's stuff that's preventing thunderstorms from actually forming here. So that's really the main thing there for those areas. But it's like I said. It seems like a decent little event. I'm actually really surprised at how strong the wind shear is. We have really, really strong wind shear. For the most part here. It's pretty decent. Look at our mid-levels up here. But we're talking like 120 knots or so at 9 kilometers. That's kind of more mid-upper levels. But still, some parts of this system, have some really, really strong wind shear, which is definitely pretty crazy, especially once you get kind of into that storm activity here. If we were to bring this up, you can see just how strong our lower level winds are here. We're talking some pretty strong stuff here. Look at this effective inflow layer, 413. It's pretty high. That's pretty darn high. Really, really strong winds here because of that low we were talking about there. Anyways, Scott says infrared satellite imagery show Oklahoma and Kansas fire and smoke. Okay, I guess we could do that. Here, let's reset our panel here. We'll pull up sats. We'll pull up geocolor. Actually, yeah, that might be a little bit better. We're going to have to go back in time a little bit, though. We're going to have to go back to... We'll load the last 12 hours here. So maybe it'll show us where that's at. Okay. So you said where? Kansas and Oklahoma? You can kind of see some of it right here. You make out some of that. You can see what smoke, or... That might even be dust. Actually, yeah, that's dust right here. Strong winds behind it. This is smoke over here, though, you can see. Out there by Amarillo. Yeah, it's like northwest of Amarillo, we had a couple of fires here, you can see. Now, Oklahoma, there's a bit of... Yeah, there's a bit of cloud cover, but I tell you what I can do, though. If we pull up satellite imagery, we'll go to fire temperature. This should actually show us the highlighted areas here. Oh, there you go. Bingo. Yep, so we still got that one up there northwest of Amarillo going on. We got a couple fires here towards the panhandle of Oklahoma. Interesting. Wow. Yeah, you can see right where those fires really were. Goodness. Yeah, it seems like they might have went down. But, given that how strong the winds are out there and, how low the humidity is, that's a really... really big problem. Actually, I want to take a moment to switch over here to this program for a moment to, show you guys we do have red flag warnings in effect here. We do have that really strong low that's rolling through, which is really kicking up those winds and stuff like that. We got all kinds of warnings and stuff across the country right now. Like, we also have, we actually have ourselves, like California, like those upper levels here, 3 to 4 feet above, additional snow accumulation to 3 to 4 foot. We were actually talking about this yesterday on the stream, I believe, and there was actually in the forecast of 5 to 7 feet of snow from this system up in the upper elevations of California. Like, pretty crazy stuff. Rochi says there's been a lot of chatter about a coastal snowstorm coming to the Mid-Atlantic on Sunday. It's not a guarantee it will happen, but there have been models that have been trending. Well, you know what? We can look at it. Let's pull up our fancy panel that I have here. I made a while back. We'll do our 3-panel. Actually, this is our high res. Actually, we're gonna have to do. Hold up. I have a better one here. This is precip comparison. Here we go. There we go. So we have 5 different models loaded. So this will tell us how likely this is to happen. So you said for when? Sunday, right? Mid-Atlantic on Sunday. Gotcha. All right, so we're going Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Okay. All right, so obviously there's a lot of disagreement, as you can kind of tell. We have the 2 AI models on the bottom, the AI GFS in the bottom left, the AI Euro in the bottom right. These 2 show, a decent snowstorm here, not really for the Mid-Atlantic, but more for the Northeast. I mean, maybe some of the Mid-Atlantic could be included, but mostly Northeastern system. Now, the main models like the GFS in the top left, the Euro in the middle, and then the GEM GDPS in the top right, shows more of a bunch of snow showers rather than a big mass of snow. So, yeah, there's obviously a lot of disagreement there, in which I really wouldn't trust anything quite yet. I mean, this is about 130, 140 hours out, which, I mean, that's reasonable time, but given that there's still a bit of a bit of uncertainty there in the models, then yeah, it's a little too early to really trust anything here. Anyways, so yeah, we'll keep it on. Obviously, if anything pops up out of that, we'll definitely take a look at it. But anyways, folks, if you guys have any questions or anything, be sure to let us know in the chat. But we're probably gonna head off here pretty soon. It is getting a little bit late, but I just wanted to hop on here, give you guys a big rundown on what's going on here. Just kind of show you guys what we have in store here for for the severe weather. I'm gonna bring up the RRFS model again here for you guys. We'll actually overlay the here. Let's try this again. We're gonna overlay the instability along here with it as well. So let's do that. So we'll do model thermodynamics. We'll do mixed layer CAPE, and we'll put the radar over the instability here, so you can kind of see everything here. And then we'll go back to 0 UTC. There we go. So, yeah, I mean, like we mentioned here, as we approach our way into Thursday, I mean, you can see where a lot of that instability starts to build in to the region here. And you can see where these storms really start to fire. We do have that low in place over here by Missouri and in Iowa. So that low is going to be in place right in here. We're going to have our cold front here, and then we're going to have that warm air advancing northward, bringing that moisture. And then we're going to have the cooler air on the backside, bringing in that cooler, that more drier air, in which, because of that, there's going to be decent lapse rates, which is contributing to, the instability and whatnot. Lapse rates is just, the change in the temperature profile over altitude. But yeah, I mean, it looks decent. I mean, it definitely looks like a decent little event here. Definitely, I'm a little bit concerned from the RRFS here with a bunch of these little scattered supercell potential, or these supercells potentially. Let me actually hop back to the 18 UTC. I'm curious to see the change in the models and how different they look. Same model but different run. This is the 18 Zulu. This one shows. Here, let's remove all this. This one actually shows a decent amount of storm activity here, even for like Illinois and Indiana here. This is for 5 p.m. on Thursday from the RRFS model. Honestly, not showing as much instability for Kentucky, which is surprising. Therefore, you don't really see as much storms fire off there, as opposed to the newer model. The newer model obviously shows more instability and potentially more storms. So, yeah, I mean, there is a bit of disagreement here on the models. Here, we'll even pull up the HRRR to compare here. We'll go back to the 0 UTC run here. Yeah, obviously HRRR does show more instability, more fuel as well for bits of Kentucky. Definitely interesting. Quite an interesting little setup here. There still is obviously a lot of disagreement here in the models, as you can probably tell. Excuse me. Anyways, Samuel, this is not going to be impacting your area of Mississippi. No, this is mostly a Ohio Valley threat. So, Anyways, guys, if y'all have any questions or any comments, be sure to let us know in the chat. I'll be more than happy to help. And if you guys are new to the channel, consider leaving a like, maybe hitting that subscribe button. It'll be greatly, greatly appreciated here. All right, so we're going to hop back to, we're actually going to look at the precipitation type here. We're going to go back here to the RRFS model here. So obviously, once again, we do have this system rolling through here for tomorrow. You know, driving a pretty good amount of snowfall. It's actually already kind of happening now, but you know, it's really going to be going through here for tomorrow. Driving some snowfall for some of these areas up in like North Dakota, areas up here in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Upper State, Michigan. Let me grab a sounding. I want to see if this is like the cold snow or if this is the wet snow. Okay, it seems like this is a pretty cold snow environment here. Although, yeah, it seems like the environment definitely gets a lot colder as we progress in the time. Not just on the ground level, but also in our mid-levels there, too. So a lot of this would probably convert into that powdery type of snow. It might start off as a bit of wet snow and then eventually go into more powdery stuff. For that, I'm actually going to bring up the snow accumulations here. We'll pull up the, let's see, winter. We'll do the Kashira ratio. We'll do total snow from Kashira, which, I mean, some areas, whoa, could really pick up quite a bit. Then we actually have that second system coming in here, too. Yeah, I mean, models definitely show a pretty good amount. Is Duluth? Oh, Duluth is actually under a blizzard warning here. Interesting. Let's see. Additional snow accumulations between 4 and 7 inches, and expect between 5 and 12 inches for higher terrain. Interesting. So, like I said, yeah, I mean, it's already going on here, but yeah, definitely going to be seeing quite a bit of snow out here. It does show kind of the heaviest out there, like for eastern Minnesota. I mean, it's pretty decent. Pretty decent. Samuel says, okay, thank you. No problem. You are very, very welcome, my friend. But anyways, guys, if y'all have any more questions, be sure to let us know. Like I said, you know, we'll be here for you guys. We'll definitely, you know, help you guys out if y'all have any questions with the weather or anything. If you guys could, maybe leave a like. Be much appreciated. But, all right, everybody. Well, I think I'm probably going to roll off here for now. Going once, going twice. Any last questions that you guys might have before we roll off here? Yeah, I think we pretty much went over everything that we really needed to go over here in this update. Yeah, I think we got everything talked about here. But once again, you know, we'll definitely keep you guys in the loop with everything. You know, once again, for day 3, this is Thursday. This is where that main severe threat is going to be. With the greatest threat as of right now, like we mentioned here, for portions of northern Kentucky, central southern Indiana, central southern Illinois, southwestern Ohio here. Like I said, in the level 2 threat, we have Lexington, Cincinnati, Louisville, Indianapolis, Springfield, inside the level 2 severe weather threat here. For St. Louis, we have the level 1 severe weather threat. Same thing, shy of Columbus here, shy of Nashville as well. So we'll definitely need to just keep a close eye out there for this event here. And it's going to be a bit of an afternoon going into the evening threat for the most part. Still is a bit of uncertainty in the models as we found out, but you know, we'll definitely keep you guys in the loop with everything, and we'll be sure to just let you all know if there's any changes or anything like that in the forecast. And but like I said, I mean, bottom line, I mean, it seems like a pretty decent little event here. You know, it looks pretty good. You know, we definitely got some pretty good wind shear, some pretty good lower level wind shear, you know, with this system here. I mean, this is for, yeah, here's for Thursday, when the system pops off. I mean, you can see that our lower level winds are going to be a pretty good, you know, 40, maybe 50 knot, lower level jet there, which is definitely quite impressive, honestly. It definitely is quite impressive. So really, really strong, lower level flow there. And like I said, we do have some pretty decent veering winds as well. So basically, the winds are aggressively changing that direction and increasing in wind speed with altitude, which is definitely pretty decent little environment here. But all right, everybody. Well, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, or I should really say night at this point. Y'all have a great rest of your night, and we'll see you guys here tomorrow night for another update. I might even post a video tomorrow morning, just giving you guys a little bit more of a rundown on the threat for the morning time. So just stay tuned for that. Be sure to turn on notifications, that way you guys can get alerted when we do post new content. And on your way out, if you guys could leave a like, it'd be much appreciated. Subscribe if you're new; it'll just be much appreciated. That way, we can ensure that you guys are staying safe and staying weather aware. And I'll be sure to keep you guys informed with everything that's going on here. Once again, I do plan on doing coverage on Thursday, probably for the evening portion, but we'll figure that out. But all right, everybody, thank you all so much for watching. You guys take care. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you guys here in the next one. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you guys later on. Peace out, my friends. See ya in the next one.